welcome to your reading. I have my notes. I have your cards. Let's get into it. I will say your first card is the Death card, so we're starting out strong. I, of course, love the Death card because I have so much Scorpio in my chart. You are no stranger to the ways that what people often perceive as dark and dangerous are often the parts of life that are most fulfilling. And in the story of the Death card, particularly what we're talking about when we say that this darkness and this fear, the benefit that we're getting from that is the transmutation that comes from running towards your fear, crossing the threshold into darkness, allowing pain to create something new. I want to be really gentle with this because there is an energy here of actually being like so comfortable with pain that it's all you can feel. And it, with so much numbness elsewhere, like in your embodiment journey, for there to be something that is like heartbreaking or challenging or re-stimulating, of like, when I say re-stimulating, like triggering from like past memories, that feels really nice, right? Not because it feels good, but because you're like, oh yeah, I'm an emotional being. And we're going to get to that in the card that comes last, because this journey of transmutation is seeing where you have trapped yourself in that cycle and allowing this is what I love about this Death card. And your whole reading here, I'll just show you like the whole deck. Let me just like get a few cards. I know sometimes I show them off. Like, there is a lot of like bright colors. And yes, there is like, you know, occasionally this yellowy, like we can see it here in some of the Pentacles stuff, but it's not like this whole deck is that particularly gold. Your whole reading, as soon as I saw it laid out like this aesthetically, was like, wow, like this is really golden. And this Death card is not necessarily, you know, the darkest Death card in the world. What it has is the skeletal structure of this person visible through the translucent skin. The outside comes out, right? Or the insides come out to the outside, so that we can see, you know, wearing your heart on your sleeve, where you've been and how you get to where you're going. And we're going to talk about this again in the last card, because your whole reading is a spiral. And there's a little crown right here that has fallen. So it's like this pattern of like, accept the challenge, face the fear, acknowledge the trauma, and then grow. Accept the challenge, face the fear, you know, refuel the trauma, grow, right? Yes, that's amazing that you can do that. A lot of people can't, but it's not the only tool in your toolkit. And the ability to transmute and transform the way that you have gives you this relational capacity that you are going to be able to leverage for what I'm seeing is like a really wonderful, like, relational adventure, like with other people where you're going, and you have prepared yourself for that. But this is why it feels like this cycle is coming to close, is because we have the King of Wands reversed. You can see the King of Wands big cock right here. He's kind of playing it like a guitar. I love that the wands in this deck have like a fall foliage type symbolism to it. This guy does have a little bit of like a rockabilly, like Elvis kind of vibrancy to it. Once again, quite gold in the background, very fiery, right? But we do have it in the reverse. So we will say, oh, there is a note about uncertainty that I forgot to tell you from my notes here, but we'll actually talk about it when we close the circle. Because you have lost virality, right? Like, if I were doing this reading like in person at a bar, I would ask like, are you having trouble getting it up? Like, that's like the physical, like, oh, King of Wands reversed, like I can't get hard anymore, like I don't feel as confident sexually, right? And so there is a piece of that. But the other things that wands rule when we're not looking so, you know, phallic in nature is just creative spark, the will to live, the passion for something that we want to do with our lives, a direction that we want to go, right? With all of that fiery wand energy, Yes, there is an element of sexuality to it, especially for people that are sexually embodied. I'm not calling you out, I'm just letting you know that psychics see everything. And feeling like that, oh my God, my cat is snoring so loud. I thought it was someone opening the door. It's my cat going, okay. And of course, the king has a crown on here, right? It's another example of a fallen crown. And this feeling of like, oh, I'm never going to come back, right? The reason that this is happening, this feeling of like, oh, I can't get my mojo back. Like, I don't have any juice for this. Like, I don't even know how to like get out of this shell that I'm in. It's like, I see you kind of like in... It's so funny doing like such a personal reading for someone I like never see, because it's like, wow, this is a targeted attack. But like you're in the middle of a room and you're shrouded in darkness, and you can see that there is like a door open and you're surrounded by this light, and it's like you're stuck in that chair, right? The thing is, and this is the thing about all kings too, is that they are kind of bound to the throne, because they identify with their suit. Their ego is their throne. They don't get up because they worry about the state of their kingdom. They worry about what their life would be like if they weren't this way anymore, right? So often, even when you're in king energy in the upright, you're still kind of bound to your chair. You're bound to your throne. You're bound to your duties. Kinging is not just all, mistresses and gluttony and, getting to kill your brother every once in a while. It's also a duty and a responsibility, and a pretty significant one, right? So when I see a reversal, I'm seeing like, okay, bro, it's time to get up. It's time to get out of that throne, right? And it is these together that make me feel as if the pattern of transmutation through this incredible Scorpio-like capacity for going to the underworld, getting what's good out of there and bringing it back, right? Even for other people. How many times in your life have you been in a relationship where really you're just going into their underworld, grabbing the gold and bringing it up for them? And you're like, here you go. This is the gold that was in your underworld. Please love me. And they're like, actually, I don't want to see my underworld. I am so like, I can't believe you went there. That is so rude. And then they have their own spin out because they don't have that same comfortability with darkness, right? So this cycle is no longer serving you. However, you've kind of alley-ooped yourself into this ability that, as I was saying before, is kind of creating a magnetism. Now, you may want a diagnostic on how to like actually get out of the chair, right? Because what we're seeing here, and we have some cute butts. I love this Leo card, or not this Leo card, this Sun card, Freudian slip, because of the cute butts and because of that gorgeous sun and that beautiful Spanish-Italian mustache. And another, just look at how gold and beautiful this reading is, right? With the Sun card, there's accessing your inner child. What was it that you liked to do when you were a kid that if you did now would bring you nourishment and get you out of the fucking house? What are the things that you felt about the world when you were a child before you came jaded that you can still see some value in, right? Not all people are bad. Everybody's here for a reason. That's one that I think will do you good. Whatever though, there's some deep down stuff, right? In all of the trauma, and all of the memories that we go to that have dark, painful, blah, 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 there are also all of these good, I'll tell you a story. I was getting like a shamanic massage from Houston Aztec Massage. It's like in South Houston. It's very ceremonial. It's essentially a body spell work thing. And she actually asked me to like summon a childhood memory or like summon something in childhood that was comforting. And I intuited it's because she could see that when I was trying to heal and she was trying to heal me, I was always going to a dark place. Like I was kind of saying like, okay, here's where I need to go to heal. When in reality, what I found through that shamanic treatment was that It was actually pulling out and expanding the joy that I would push out some of this harder stuff, right? It's challenging. I have a lot of Scorpio in 12th house in my chart. I don't want to do that shit. I don't want to think about what was good. I want to whine about what's bad. Sorry. Like, I'm also a Virgo. I want to complain all the time. It's a part of life, right? So I have to create coping mechanisms around that. But the memory that I did bring up was that in my backyard, there was this big tree that I used to play around, and I did used to believe that it was alive and it had a face like the Pocahontas tree from the animated movie, not from the actual genocidal experience of someone who was actually not even named Pocahontas. And that playtime where I was in the flowers and with the bugs, catching bugs, that was the joyful part, because I didn't have to think about what was going on inside of the house, right? And now in my meditation practice, in my healing practice, I often go to that tree because I'm like, okay, there were a lot of horrible things happening, and there are a lot of horrible things happening, but also there's trees, right? Not to talk about myself in your reading, but it seems related. I don't know if it's feeling a little targeted. And the other thing about the Sun card, not just this, diagnostic and prescription to go back and try to pick out all of the tiny little things that you can that were joyful, that you can kind of expand through meditation, through memory work, through trying to access your thought patterns, which is going to be really hard with substances. That's all I'm saying about that. You also are going to increase your magnetism, because you have this really balanced and worldly emotional capacity that makes you a really great partner, a really great friend, a super good employee, an excellent community member. You understand that people aren't perfect. You have a long fuse for people pissing you off. You give people lots of chances and you want to see the best in them. You make a great member of a community, and I would really encourage you to think about not just how to have one-on-one relationships with people, but also how to integrate into groups, because your capacity for that is quite large. You kind of do thrive in it. And this fear that someone, if the sun is shining, if it's so brilliant and so bright, they're gonna see all of the negative parts of me, can be squelched, crushed, maybe medicated by the reality that you understand that everyone has those things about them. That's the beauty of Leo. Leos are not confident because they're perfect. They are confident because they understand that imperfection is a spectrum. And if they do this or that, or if they lean into the things that they're good at, this is often why they're considered egotistical. They'll get something that they're really good at and they'll be like, this is my identity. Everybody look at how good I am at this. Don't worry about the stuff behind the curtain. No worries, right? And it's often look how well I can hide the things about myself that aren't imperfect, right? So Leo is this big illuminating force, but it doesn't say everything's perfect. It says, this is perfect. Look at this. Look at how perfect this is, right? So you have this gift that the universe is giving you. This is the other thing about the uncertainty. Because one thing about death that scares us, in addition to, accidentally making a cameo on Ghost Adventures or something, and what the afterlife is going to be like if we get caught up in some kind of traumatic death, we don't know what actually happens after we die. That uncertainty really cripples a lot of people psychologically in a way that they don't realize affects the way that they treat other people and treats the world around them. You do not have that burden. You give all of the power of how you feel uncertain to the mundane in the world. So you have the same amount of anxiety as people that are afraid to die, except you have taken that anxiety and you've put it in, I'm afraid to live. No. This is the stuff that's scary, right? It's happening to me right now, right? It's a little bit of a backdoor coping mechanism for disassociation, because you get to not be 100% present. You get to kind of hide in that uncertainty about how it's going to go. You could stand to get a little less predictive about how people are going to treat you. Get a little less oh, they'll do this, and if I do that, they do this, and then I know that this is going to happen because every time I've done it with this kind of person, it's happened that way. And instead get really curious. The Sun card, I keep saying Leo because I'm seeing this big brilliant Leo sun. And Leos are quite distracting, but the beauty of your ability to have all of this capacity and love all of this uncertainty is that you know what it's like to feel curious, right? Because when you're in the dark, you can't see, you're crawling around in there, you're like, let me go this way, let me go that way, what's gonna happen? You're going through tunnels. If you could take that mindset of like, I'm going into the depths of my psyche and I'm trying to find out what's wrong with me so that I can make it better and I can have connections. Instead of, you're done spelunking, brother. It's time to come on up to the surface, go into the town, and have that same curiosity, but about how other people are going to react to you. Not a projection, not a judgment, not a story, right? You're still gonna get triggered. You're still gonna get anxious. You're still gonna have a hard time. And what you're gonna notice is that there's actually a lot of other people around you that are having a hard time as well. And now that you're looking for it, you'll see it, it'll trigger your compassion, and boom, you've made a connection, right? And that's gonna happen over and over and over again. Now, I usually don't make predictions about when a certain time frame is or like when stuff is gonna happen because time isn't real. However, I was getting a really strong sense when I pulled this card that like during Leo season, you are going to have a field day. Like you're gonna process this. You're gonna be doing some self-care work for the next couple months, right? There's some really, like, it feels like your body is thirsty, like you are dehydrated, maybe with water, but also with like treating yourself, like being really good to yourself, going for a walk, eating healthy food, having a night where you don't use any substances, you don't have any caffeine, like just kind of like really getting super, super present. Like you're gonna need to practice some of that stuff for the next couple months, like being really good to yourself, right? Some of this virality that you have lost with the reverse King of Wands is some of the way that your body is craving a different kind of attention. Movement, different kinds of foods, experiment with cutting some stuff out. I don't really give like diet and exercise advice. I think that stuff is shit. I mean, I have grown to get into a pattern of it and it really does help a lot. But there is kind of like a baseline of like, hey, if we're able-bodied, like, when our body is asking us for it and we're not present and we're not in our body and we're not listening, then maybe we can overcompensate for the next couple of months and really try to see how well we can listen to our body and how well we can feed our body and how much more water we can drink and how much more outside we can get. It's going to be good weather. It's going to be a good time to maybe get out into nature, look at some trees, hug one, pick a flower, do something a little spontaneous, get out of your routine. And it's like by the time like July, August is rolling around, you will have been experimenting with like getting a little more spontaneous, treating yourself a little better, going outside, doing something out of the ordinary. And it's like you've gotten up from your throne of like, I have to fix my mental health and I have to fix my psychology, blah, blah, blah. You stand up from that and you start walking towards the open door, right? And then you'll be out in the sun. And I'm sure there'll be another crazy transmutation cycle that comes out of that because you're going to be really trying to connect with people and you're going to get really fucking triggered and you're going to have to lean on your ability to have that scorpionic transmutation in a new relational way. Now, I say all that to say that it has not answered your question about how to align with your purpose because I don't really know what your purpose is. And I think that there is a message in what we have received here about how the purpose of life in general is to connect with others. Because a lot of what I was seeing for you is seeing you like you're in like a place, you're kind of like outside on a patio and there's a lot of people around you and you're like getting really connected with them, right? And you have like this King of Wands fire with them and they're like really appreciating you and really seeing you and you're really seeing them. And that's what I kept seeing throughout your reading. And, especially with that Leo energy, but also because of that, scorpionic death stuff, it's like you are ready to move towards that. And that wasn't the question you asked, but that's the cards that you got. And so I wonder if part of your purpose in life, and maybe the part of everybody's purpose, if I'm being a Pollyanna, is to connect with others, get into community, try this, you know, I'm gonna make myself uncomfortable so that I can experiment with this connection with other people. I don't see anything here about career or earning money or finding a wife or knocking someone up. None of that's in here. What's in here is like, go out and connect. And, you know, this whole like fallen crown thing, when you get to the sun energy, your crown's back on. You know, you pick up the crown and you put it back on, right? And it creates this like brilliant leadership about you. And I don't know, I'm really excited for that. Isn't that annoying? Yes, your purpose in life is not to make $1 million. It's to make 40 to 20 friends. And I'll send you a photo of your cards. Bye.